what I'll share today is a reflection on Psalm 6 by cantor Shoshana Brown, who is the cantor at Temple Beth El in Fall River, Massachusetts. And I actually ended up corresponding a little bit with her yesterday. Great, wonderful. Thank you, Leslie. And if you can keep that full page up, that's great, because you'll see, so the melody is a traditional folk dirge that is used on the 9th of Av for the song Eli Tzion. And you'll see that she has a paragraph of explanation about why she chooses to use this melody with these verses, and I find it very moving. So I'm glad we can read that. And was there anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, so it's Psalm 6, verses 3 through 5 and 9 and 10, and she does some of it in Hebrew and some in English. Choneni Adonai ki umlal ani, Rifa'eni Adonai ki nivalu atzamai, v'nafshi nivala me'od, ve'ata Adonai ad matai. Turn, Adonai, and rescue my soul. Deliver me for your mercy's sake. Oh, hear the voice of my weeping. Hear my plea, Adonai. Accept my prayer. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, ki shama Adonai kol bechi, ki shama Adonai kol bechi.
Thank you, Julia. Can everyone hear me now? So I am on my phone. Hello, everybody. So I'll deal with the computer later, but we can function this way for today. Okay, great. So we're going to go back to, that was really beautiful, Julia. Sorry about the tech for me, and it's life, right? So we're going to go back to Psalm 6. And Leslie Byrne, are you with us today with documents, or what do you have with you? Hi, is Leslie here? We can't hear you. You're muted. You're muted, Leslie. We can't hear you if you're speaking. Can't hear you.
Yes, God willing, I have everything. That's
okay. So do you have Fisher's with you? Do you have Fisher translation? So let's look at Fisher, Norman Fisher, that Zen-inspired translations.
Give me a second. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to read through the English of the basic translation first while Leslie's doing that. And let's see. I'm assuming everybody can hear me because I can't totally know. So Lamanatseach bin Ginot al Hashminit Mizmor LeDavid. To the leader, the chief musician, the conductor on Neginot, some kind of stringed instrument maybe, on the eight something, a Psalm of David. I'm going to read the first couple in this English, and then we'll look at Fisher. Thank you, Leslie. Adonai, do not rebuke me with your anger, nor chastise me with your rage. Be gracious unto me, for I am desolate. Heal me, Adonai, for bones are terrified. My soul too is terrified. Return, Adonai, free my soul. Deliver me for the sake of your loving kindness. 6, for in Sheol, for in death, there is no mention of you. No, for in death, there is no mention of you. In Sheol, who will thank you? 7, I am worn out with my sighing. Every night I cause my bed to float. With my tears, I melt my couch. 8, my eye is dimmed from anger. It has aged because of my tormentors. 9, depart from me, all you evildoers, for Adonai has heard the voice of my weeping. Adonai has heard my supplication. Adonai will accept my prayer. 11, ashamed and utterly terrified will all my foes be, and they will return, and they will be instantaneously ashamed. All right, let's look at Fisher. It's very small on my screen, of course, because I'm using a phone. So starting with 6, I'm going to hold open the other translation. And if you have if you have another translation, keep it open so you can be comparing. I know some of you have gotten some of the books, or you have just a Tanakh in your home. So notice again, 6, notice again, beautiful. Notice again that Fisher, and then we're going to do alter next. Notice again that Fisher drops that superscription line. Again, for some people, that first line of the psalm is an intrinsic part of the psalm, and other people read it as, kind of what would you call it? Kind of stage directions, like you would have in a play, that if you were reading a play, the stage directions are not part of the dialogue. So that's how Norman Fisher clearly reads it, because he just drops that first verse altogether. And so he goes right into the verse 2, which I'll remind you says, do not rebuke me with your anger, nor chastise me with your rage. So look at Fisher's. I'm going to make this a little larger for me. Don't crush me with your anger. Don't singe me with your flame. Now notice what's the same and what's different, so to speak. First of all, you'll notice he removes a reference to Adonai, to God. For a Fisher, that's not meaningful to have the identity of a God. Remember, he's from the Zen Buddhist tradition. So he's removed, and it's more that the, what would you say? He's speaking to the universe, or expressing this outward or to inward, but don't crush me with your anger. Who is he speaking to? What do you think Fisher is saying? Where is Fisher addressing this? Don't singe me with your flame. I love those imagery, but be gracious. So you see, Fisher very much likes to play with the contrasting, and the psalmist plays with contrasting. Contrast. So remember, again, in biblical poetry, a poet is often seen as either escalating synonymous sentences, which means they're just repeating the same thing but using different language, or escalating language. They're taking the same feeling but increasing the intensity of whatever that feeling is. Or third, they're doing a contrast. So he's saying, don't crush me with your anger, don't singe me with your flame, but be gracious. I am diminishing. Ki umlal amin. That's very beautiful, which my translation uses desolate. And kill me. Rifa'eni. Remember we talked yesterday, and we have several Raphaels, Raphaela, Raphael, Raphael. All those are from the word. Hi, Emily. Emily, let's all cheer for Emily. What an amazing piece you had in the forward, Emily. We're so proud of you. And thank you for helping your old mother with the technology. We all need you in our apartments. Thank you, Emily. Emily, you're the assistant TA today. Emily, I want to talk to you about reading that piece at CBST, okay, on a Friday night. I'll email you, okay? Excellent. Okay, back to the psalm. So, be gracious, for I am diminishing. Heal me, and this I love. Rifa'eni Adonai ki nivhalu atzamai. Remember, I read my bones are terrified. Heal me, for I am terrified, even to the bones of my body. V'nafshi nivhala, the same word nivhala, and my heart is seared, and my soul shrinks. And remember what he's doing, because remember I said nafshi or nefesh in Hebrew, which means soul in modern language, even in rabbinic language. In the Bible, there's no separation of soul and body. So his using the word soul is definitely very much a post-Hellenistic, so translation means it's reflecting his tradition. But he doesn't only want to refer to a soul, even though there's no mention of the word heart in the original Hebrew. He is acknowledging here that nefesh is bigger than just soul somehow. And so this beautiful imagery of my heart is seared and my soul shrinks. And then the second part of verse 4, he separates out as one could imagine this almost being like the chorus in a song, right? That this is almost the chorus. And you, how long, O Lord, how long? Now, I think, and I'd have to check to make sure this is the first time we see Fisher use the words, O Lord. I'll have to look back in my other ones, but interesting that he does that. Since he rarely does it, it's important to notice it and imagine what that might mean. There's no easy answer to that. Okay, turn now. He's translating shuva, which I told you is return, but it also can mean turn. Shuv and shuva and shuva are all connected. Turn now. Shuva Adonai chaltza b'nafshi. So he continues to translate here, nafshi, like he did before, nefesh as soul. This is the work of your natural kindness. And that's how he's translating chesed or chasdecha, which I translated as loving kindness. This is your work of your natural kindness. For in faithless death, there's no one to remember you. Faithless death. I wonder what that means. I'm not sure. There's no one to remember you. Again, remember I said the translation of this verse can go either way. Regina asked that great question yesterday. It could either mean after I'm dead, I'm in a place where how could I possibly praise you or pray or thank you? Or it could mean after death, there's nothing. And so if we're in faithless death, there's no one to remember you. In mute narrowness, no one to sing your Thanksgiving songs. That is a fantastic translation of Sheol, mute narrowness. I am exhausted from my sighing. Every night my bed's a lake of sorrow, a drowning flood of tears and sweat. My eyes are blind with grieving. They become weak with the force against me. Now you leave me narrowness and blindness, for the voice of my weeping has been heard. My lamentation has turned into courage. Isn't that fantastic? Shema Adonai Techinati, Adonai Tefilati Yikach. Now the narrowness that pressed me is startled. Suddenly it is turned, going back to shuva, repentance also, shamed and disarmed. So shame isn't to humiliate something or someone or that piece, but to feel shame means to feel remorse, means to feel some sense of human shame that one has done something wrong. And so Fisher is seeing the enemies, whatever that is. Shame is something that can move somebody to turn and to be disarmed. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And Leslie, I can't see the chat on the phone, so you're going to have to let me know if there are any questions or comments or responses to Fisher's exploration of Psalm 6.
Sheldon Wertman has an interesting comment, I think.
Okay.
If he's there. Sheldon? There?
Because there's a lot of noise behind me right now. Yes, his faithless death, which I put up, I interpreted it that he could be an orphan or an only child or without a spouse, and he passed away and there's no headstone. If you cremate somebody, they have no headstone, and even when you walk through a cemetery.
Ah, I see what you're saying. So when you say for in death, there's no mention of you, meaning the psalmist themselves.
Well, he's saying this either by himself or to the
Fascinating.
God. I'm not even too sure yet.
Very interesting.
Faithless
Very interesting.
death, there's no one to remember you. So
Yep.
he is saying to you, it's either to God, it's either to Yud Hey, or he's saying it to a group. He talks both ways in this. I'm not too sure exactly, but he says.
Yep, very interesting. That's very interesting. And so it's really what he's doing here, which I hadn't really noticed that part, that it's not about remembering the Holy One, the Creator. It's about our memory. Who will remember us? Very interesting. Okay, thank you.
Something. I'm sorry for the noise in the background.
That's okay. Another comment or question?
Oops, sorry. Can you hear me? Can't tell.
I can hear.
Sarah Siegel had something to add to that. Another thought there, I think. Sarah?
Yeah, hi. It was just a similar one to Sheldon. In this case, though, I thought there'd be no yahrzeit or Kaddish to be said for the faithless dead.
Wow, that is so interesting. See, I just learned something from both of you because I've never read it that way, and I totally see it now. Thank you.
Simon and or Sherry have their hands up.
Yeah. First of all, I see why Fisher would have to use Lord here, because this whole psalm is so much the psalmist talking to Adonai. So it's almost impossible to get away. The other thing is this turn now, turn and revolve my soul. We talked yesterday about who is it that's turning. If he had put a comma after resolve, he would be talking about his own soul. But he seems to be asking God to turn and resolve his soul, to ask God to do something for him. So I would say Fisher has taken that interpretation of that kind of fulcrum verse.
Yep, very nice. Very nice, yep.
And Hillary has her hand up too. She's around. Hillary?
Hi. Yeah, I was, it's funny because with Fisher's renditions of 5 and 6, I had started to think when I was reading 5 as well, that these are less Buddhist than his first Psalms. And the fact that he says soul, even, that's something that Buddhists don't talk about, a soul at all.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And it's almost like I almost feel closer to these Psalms. It's almost like he's giving it over to the Jewish part of himself, or to the part of the tradition that yearns for something out there, whether no matter what
so
your philosophy is.
Wow, so interesting. I love having so many people in the class that have depth in these other areas. Fantastic.
Rabbi, if we can have one more, I think Marcia Melnick has.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's do more. Yep.
Marcia, you there?
Oh, I didn't really have much to add. I mean, I think there is a melding here. Rabbi, you mentioned that he uses Lord for the first time. And so I feel really right from the beginning that he's speaking, pleading with God. I don't see, and then of course that little refrain, in a sense, how long, oh Lord, brings God into the story. So it feels more like a melding of things rather than one or the other. I wouldn't categorize it in any way. And also he feels very close to the text, much more poetic than the translation I have. I mean, I love the language, the lake of sorrow. It's absolutely beautiful. My lamentation, the language is very special.
I just love comparing the translations all the time, and you really see every, and he is a poet. You feel that. You see his use of language that raises these And you understand the power of somebody who can use language in an artful way as opposed to a, and work a day way. And he really does that. Thanks.
There's a comment from Merritt. I don't know if she wants to say anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, let's take.
So I don't like to, I have such a different response to this than the rabbi has, and I don't like that I don't feel the same way as the rabbi.
I totally support you, Merritt.
Yeah.
Listen, in 3 minutes, I might disagree with the rabbi too, so, you know.
It's that I had a very almost angry response to this. I all the things that moved you didn't move me. I felt that it was very filled with ego and self and listen to me. And I am hurting. And there's no way to do a translation. It's like you can't Buddhicize that self voice out of
that is so interesting.
And so he what can he do? He has to, oh Lord, he can't get rid of it. It so pervades this psalm for me.
I love it, Merritt. Thank you. That makes me feel so good if somebody completely rejects whatever I say. Honestly, I love it. Fantastic. More of that. I'm just trying to create frameworks and ways of looking at it. I'm absolutely not saying there's one way to do it. All right, is there somebody else? We're going to do the altar translation.
There's a few more hands up if you want to take.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take it. Good, because I've been talking a lot yesterday and today, so I wanted to get us through at least one translation to see.
Stephen Raphael.
Yes. I just want to say that I think for as grieving as it is in the first part, I find that last paragraph very hopeful, because he says that his struggle has turned to courage, but the part that I love is, suddenly it is turned shamed and disarmed.
Yeah.
That he ends with disarmed, meaning that the sins or the struggle are no longer. So I find it very positive.
I think the ending, I experienced that too, and I think you're right about that word disarmed. It's saying whatever it is that had power to hurt me is now disarmed. That's
or
an
maybe
amazing
just
accomplishment.
the acknowledging of it. Just the fact that he's acknowledging the suffering and that it's somehow his. It's like what you were saying yesterday about, you can't assume to be innocent, right? We're not necessarily innocent even if we're struggling. So that disarmed is a powerful word.
And you notice the punctuation he uses. Fisher's very interesting. He often doesn't use any punctuation at all. If you notice, if you look up. And so when he does use punctuation, you have to notice it, right? Because it's not. So you see the 2 exclamation marks in that indented verse. And then he ends with he ends the entire thing with a dash.
Yes.
Very, very Emily Dickinson-esque, isn't it? It's kind of like, okay, the story is not over. It's not done. This is not a period. This is not an exclamation mark. This is not a, the end. This is the moment. This is a moment, a shot. It's just a moment in this story. All right, let's look at altar, okay? And let's see if we can get. Look a little bit at altar, and I'll just as a reminder, altar is interested in trying, now that Fisher leaves behind structure, leaves behind an attempt to try and be extremely close to the Hebrew, and is going for meaning and poetry and language. Altar, as you remember, is the translator who, first of all, is a Hebrew scholar, and his goal is to make the English not a literal translation, but to reflect the rhythm and some of the underlying Hebrew wordplay. Okay, so so we've gone from Fisher, who is out with structure, out with trying to, and so you'll see altar has the same number of verses, and you see those numbers on the right side. And Alter will show you in the formatting of the psalm how to see the parallelism, where he's seeing parallelism. Okay, so those are the things to look out for. Now let's see what Alter does with that first verse. Alter will always include that first verse because he's not going to get rid of any piece of it. So he translates Lama Natseach as a lead player, so that he's clearly seeing that word is being about instrumentalist. On stringed instruments, remember, we didn't know what this was. He's taking a position, and he's calling the shminit, the eighth, or the eighth thing, an 8-stringed lute. Now that's interesting, because isn't a lute a flute? It's not a stringed instrument, is it? What's a lute?
A lute is a stringed instrument. It's
It
like
is? Okay. Is it like a lyre? I don't know anything about these things.
It's most
Actually, more like a guitar.
More like a
Right.
guitar. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
With a
Let's
deep
get
back.
to the part where we study different. That's very interesting. So Alter is making a decision here that this shminit is referring to a very specific. So it's like so Saul, you're saying it looks like a guitar where you would hold it with 2 hands and
Right.
that kind
And
of
it
thing.
has a very deep back.
A deep back. Okay.
And you pluck it like a guitar.
Correct.
Wow. I love having my music people here. Okay, because I have no idea what a lute is. See, I thought it was a flute. There you go. Which doesn't make any sense, an 8-string flute, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So we now go into this rhythm of these verses. And again, look at where the parallelisms are. Lord, again, the small caps for Yud He Vav He. Do not chastise me in your, capital Y, your wrath, meaning he's talking, the speaker is speaking to God, and your is the object, your wrath. Do not punish me in your fury. So that parallelism is really close. Everybody see that? Have mercy on me, again, Lord, for I am wretched. Heal me, for my limbs are stricken, and my life is hard stricken. Now that is interesting because that's how he's translating nafshi. Remember I talked about nafsh, nefesh. Nafshi is soul in modern Hebrew. In biblical Hebrew, it means the whole person. So you notice he's not using the word soul or person. He's saying it's my whole life, my life. Nafshi, hard stricken, nivhala. And you, O Lord, how long? Ad matai, how long? Shuva, return, come back, deliver my life, rescue me. Whoops, I just lost the rescue me for the sake of your kindness, chesed. All right, let's go to the rest of the. For death, Hoshienu leman chased ki ein bamavet, because death holds no mention of you. Notice the capital U. In Sheol, who can claim you? And nobody he's really know is. So we're just going to place like in Pittsburgh, who can acclaim you? I'm not going to explain what Pittsburgh is. I'm just going to say in Sheol, who can acclaim you? Now this is a tripartite verse with 3 parallel phrases. I, weary in my sighing, 1. 2, I make my bed swim every night. 3, with my tears I water my couch. Wow, that's very intense. And Merritt, one thing I would say to you is that I think somebody who is deeply grieving or deeply in pain, it is very hard for people to get outside of themselves. I think that's a moment where people are crushed, I think kind of crushed by their own universe, because their own universe is so hard to bear. 8, from vexation my eye becomes dim, is worn out because of all my foes. And he, again, internal, external, turn from me all you wrongdoers, for the Lord hears the sound of my weeping. So there's some comfort that even though I'm in this kind of pain, I'm being heard. 7, so this is the last So this is verse 11. No, this is verse 10. The Lord, and again, you see how much Lord is in here. Lord hears my plea, parallel. The Lord will take my prayer. And then 11. Let all my enemies be shamed and hard stricken, and let them turn back. Shuv, be shamed in an instant. All right, thoughts and reflections. Now we've had Alter and Fisher.
I'm sorry.
Do we have comments? You're muted, Leslie. We can't hear you.
Sorry.
Or I can't hear you.
There you go.
Okay.
Ben Shaffron was first. He's had his hand up. Ben? No. Saul. Saul has his hand up.
Okay.
So
Ben?
who's going first, Ben or me?
Well, Ben is top on the list if he's there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, Ben. Good morning.
I kind of, when I read this in preparation for the class, my impression was very similar to Merritt. Who's this whiny little guy writing this thing? And you comment that when someone is in very deep pain, they cannot get outside themselves. I find it very useful. But on the other hand, someone in that deep of a pain wouldn't sit to write this thing. And when I first read this, the impression I had, and I'm sorry to be irreverent about it, is
I love it.
I worked my way through college in the Jewish Alps, and I met all the great over there, Jackie Mason and Don Rickles. And my first thought was, what would they do with this guy? How would they react to this? But the real key to me is verse 6. I think this is, to me, it's very critical because it's not chutzpahdik the way we talked about it yesterday. I think it's more in the form of an early way of asking the question, why do bad things happen to good people?
Yep. And irreverence is very welcome and an important part of our tradition. And as I said when we started this, there will be some Psalms where you will really connect and some Psalms you'll reject as absolutely. And that's the fun of it. And it might change. You might experience the Psalm differently at a different point. So pay close attention. But I get what you're saying. Absolutely. All right, let's take a few more comments.
One take. Saul, can you hear me? Saul?
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to note that in his footnote for verse 6, Alter says that Sheol is the underworld.
Yeah.
He's given it a place. As a comment about the psalm is that when I read this before we began, I thought this is a person who's very, very sick. And when Shep mentioned yesterday about having AIDS and having night sweats, and I thought, oh yes, this is what this is. This is somebody who is so horribly sick and believes that he's sick because God made him sick. That's the first line. That, Lord, you did this to me. And look how terrible I am. And please make me better.
Yeah. It's definitely, and for traditional Jews, this is often seen as a psalm to say around sickness. Mm-hmm.
Rabbi, we're at the 10:41 mark. We
Okay.
have a few more hands up. Up to you.
All right, let's do one more, and then tomorrow we'll continue with Psalm 6, and on Monday we'll start reading personal psalms. So just to give you a heads up, we will we're going to continue with Psalm 6, studying it, And then next, on Monday, we'll start reading things that you've all written.
So Jeffrey Weiss has the last word then. Jeffrey?
Okay, this is reminding me so much
Yes,
of.
there's class tomorrow. So I just want to say there is class tomorrow, but we're going to continue studying more translations. But we'll get, on Monday, we'll start reading things that people read. Is that clear? Yes, definitely class tomorrow. Sorry, Jeffrey, I apologize.
All right, so this is reminding me so much of Hamlet's soliloquy, to be or not to be, when I'm seeing this. It's sounding like
Interesting, I'll have to get that out to look at it.
It sounds like, because I see this as more of the person struggling with his own demons and consciousness with it. And God, because I know when I'm going through stuff, I'll talk to myself and sometimes say God, but I don't really mean God. I'm really trying to get ideas, trying to figure out how to change the situation I'm in.
Well, that's very good, Jeffrey. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to repeat, so we're going to stop comments tomorrow, but bring them today, but bring them for tomorrow. We are meeting tomorrow. We'll continue studying the Psalm tomorrow. And then on Monday, we'll start reading Psalms that you've written. Is that clear to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow night, I will teach something about Psalms for my teaching. And I think those of you who have been in the class are really going to appreciate it. Yizkor is Shabbos morning, by the way. We don't have services Friday morning. But we have Yizkor Shabbos morning for Shavuot.
And I think Julia's going to sing us out.
Yes, I will. And I think Adria will be playing tomorrow. So I'm going to take this moment to sing something in honor of Shavuot. And in particular, something that you'll hear more of if you tune in to the Tikkun and the Mariv service tomorrow night. We'll be sharing, CBST will be sharing a video that Kristen and I and others from our ensemble created in honor.
Don't miss it, everybody. It's fantastic. And we're going to be playing it tomorrow night to end the whole Mariv service.
Thank you, Rabbi. Yeah, so I'll share this screen, a brief introduction. I'm going to sing the chorus of our song called Wherever You Go. The song imagines the journey that Ruth and Naomi take together through the desert. Their bond grows through this journey. And while the actual text of the book of Ruth does not, they're in Moab and then they're suddenly in Bethlehem. This song imagines what happens along the way. And this is the chorus, and it's also the most, it's based on the source text is the most famous passage from the book of Ruth. So I'm going to share that now. Okay. Can folks see this?
Yes.
Great. Ki el asher telchi elech uva asher talini alin amech ami velo hayich Elohai ba'asher tamuti amut. And that's Ruth singing to her mother-in-law, Naomi. So yeah, have a beautiful day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. See some of you later in various things and see everybody tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.